Hi everyone, so nice of you to join me again in another doll transformation. Do you remember my guardian of the golden tree? Those fairies are once born out of such a tree. So why not make a birth tree? Let's see how I did this. And if you like this fairy, please give the video a like and maybe subscribe to my channel. And I would really love it if you would leave your thoughts in the comments. I used the head of a Lagoona and the body of a mystery doll that came to me without a head. As always with doll preparations, you prepare the doll, and for me, I always cut the hair. Put her in hot water for a minute. Decapitate the doll. And remove the hair through the neck hole. In this case, only hair, no glue. And that sounds easy, but a lot of hair is tough to remove without the glue. At least I think so. All those fuzzy little hairs, brr. So I hoped I had them all. I removed her face paint with 100% acetone. And this Lagoona had the shiny glitter on her and it was a bit tough to remove. But all the leftover paint will be removed when she gets her acetone slow shrinking bath. The mixture is already going dirty from all the previous heads, but as long as it keeps working, I will use it. If there is any reason that I don't know about to not do this, please tell me so. I'm still a noob at all this customizing. So if you're wondering about this tube thingy that's been standing here all this time, I'm planning on turning it into a tree with a hole and branches and maybe some fairy lights. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that all, but we will see soon if I'll succeed. Or maybe the thumbnail already gave the spoiler. I used air dry clay and also my homemade air dry stuff. I saw a nice technique from Nerdforge with the foil so you don't get sharp edges. I have to practice that some more. It doesn't went well. Maybe I used the wrong foil or the wrong tool, I don't know. I don't know the video from Nerdforge anymore, but I will leave their channel in the link below. Check them out, they have great projects. While the first part of the clay was drying, I started to make some mushrooms. Some from my own clay and some from Fimo Transparents, and trying some colors. While the whole tree was covered in clay, I tried some poses. I'm not sure yet how she's going to be born. Oh yeah, my girl is out of her bath, and let's see how much she's shrunk. Not so much, but I think it will be fine. Babies have a big head when they were born, right? Although this fairy will be all grown already. Weird folk, these golden tree fairies. What I did know was that the inside of the tree would be golden, with a lot of slimy golden stuff where the fairy was growing. So I experimented a bit with hot glue. I also made some long strings with the hot glue, and I painted this gold later. When all the clay was completely dry, I made some more grooves with my Dremel. The tube had two parts, and I left the possibility to open it for now. I needed the access to the inside for now. The clay was tough, so that's why I'm holding the Dremel a bit weird. And I gave the tree 2 coats of gesso. Then I wanted to start with my fairy. It was hard for me to choose a hair color. They are all so beautiful. But my first tree fairy had the chestnut color, and I wanted something different this time. So I tried the blonde and began to reroute her. I made a puncture tool from a big needle and some resin particles. When you put the particles in hot water, they become soft and shapeable. They cool down very fast, but it did the trick. But when you warm the solid mass again, it becomes soft again. And you can also soften it with a hot air gun. And as always, I forgot something. Her ears had to go. She needs fairy ears. And I forgot to paint her head, so I removed the hair. And I decided at that point to change the color to the chestnut. At the end, I already knew I had to wet the hairs or something. She's getting born. There's nothing clean and nice about her. And I was afraid the blonde hair would become boring. Maybe the chestnut would be kind of visible, and well, it's gorgeous. So, first paint. I had some cheap acrylics and it shows, but I didn't mind. It's gonna be covered anyway. I also tried to make the wings already. They didn't need to be beautiful and neat, they had to be wrinkly and shapeless. So another experiment. I put some foil onto a drawing of the wings and I hoped with some resin on wrinkly foil I could get some wrinkly wings. I colored the resin with some brown and golden mica powder. I used a bit too much, but okay. And I had to quickly put everything under the UV lamp because the resin was quickly deforming on the foil. On some parts I had to put some more resin, but in the end I got some weird looking wrinkly wings. I forgot to put some wire in there, but I will address that issue when I have to put them on my girl. When they were set, I put some more gold resin on there. They turned out horrible, but maybe it's just perfect for this project. I will have to see that at the end, when everything is done and I have to get my fairy in the tree. I drilled 2 extra holes in her back. There were already 2 weird holes, and if anyone can tell me what they were for, I would love to know. Then I needed to decide how she was going to come out of the tree. How would such a birth look like? Her head I thought would have to look up, so I cut her neck. And I thought the rest of the body was okay. I just had to figure out how her arms and legs had to be. I sanded all the seams and factory numbers. Meanwhile, I painted the tree with acrylics in brown tones, some black, green and reds, and also with some wet washes and some dry brush. The inside I tried to paint golden, but it was tricky to reach everything. I wanted to put the battery for the LED lights on the inside, but when I did this, it occurred to me that it was almost impossible to reach. I originally wanted to put LED everywhere, in the mushrooms and in the plants and in the tree. And also at this point, I had to decide whether I gave the tree some branches and leaves. So no LEDs, no battery. I will have to use a light string with USB. And those are pretty also. And with my first tree fairy, they looked like fireflies, don't you think? So this tree is gonna get some fireflies as well. So I made some branches. I drilled a few holes and put some wire through there. I covered all the wire with hot glue. And also with hot glue I attached some little branches to the wire. I covered all the branches with my homemade clay. When they dried, I smoothed all the branches with hot glue, and they had to be painted as well. First a bit of cleanup. For the base I found a wooden coaster at the Action for under €1. It had some holes, but I could cover that easily. I superglued and hot glued the tree to the base and filled all the gaps underneath with hot glue. And I will cover this all up with some EVA foam. Then I put some air dry clay at the bottom to finish the tree. And everything needed another coat of gesso and acrylics. Same treatment as before. Oh my word, the tree needs leaves, right? I made like 1,000 or more leaves from polymer clay. And when everything was baked, I gave every leaf a shimmer with some gold and some copper acrylic. I also put some moss on the branches. And before I put more leaves on there, I have to put the light string in. And just with my first tree fairy, I put some green stuff on the cable so it would blend in. Back to the wings. They also needed some shiny stuff. Just a few rhinestones will do it. Finally further with my girl. She got a few layers of Mrs. Superclear and I started with blushing and some lines on her eyes with watercolor pencil. I cut into her mouth so she would have it open. And before I finished the face up, I wanted her already complete, so I put her head on her body. I warmed her head up with an air dryer, so it's easier to put it back on. But as always, I forgot to widen her neck hole. Because of the shrinking, it will not fit anymore. And I also sanded her neck a little. And when I put her head back on, the face up cracked and chipped off, as could be suspected. And her neck broke, so I had to fix that as well. I also sanded some of the neck off because it was way too long now. After more layers of Mr. Superclear, I tried to fix the face up and I glued her ears in place. I covered the transition with air drying clay. I also glued her in position so I could smooth out all the joints. And when all the clay was dry, I sanded everything. After a few layers of Mr. Superclear, I also blushed her body. I believe I did repeat this more than 5 times. I just can't seem to make the transition from clay to body disappear. Maybe I should have used a primer coat first, but this time I didn't want to give up. There were already so much layers of MSC and blushing there. I needed this to work. On camera it's not that visible maybe, but I saw the difference and it bothered me, so I kept going. Between all the layers I did her hair. I wrapped her body in foil and glued pieces of hair on with Bookbindersglue. I used really bad and ugly pieces of hair. It's gonna be covered in goo anyway, I thought. And because of her pose, it was a challenge and I'm not good in hair anyway, so I took my time. One of my cats desperately wanted to be on my lap as I was ready to put her the wings on in order to get my fairy in her place. I fixed the wings in place with resin. I also put some golden slimy things on her body I made with the clear UV resin putty I also used for my phoenix. Meanwhile, I didn't have enough leaves on the tree and I had no more green clay or colors I could blend. But I had some ready-made leaves I used for my graveyard lady. I gave them a wash from PVA glue with greenish mica powder and glued another 1,000 leaves on the tree. This was the first batch from 3 total, I think, maybe 4. I also glued some potpourri things in the tree and some that looked like elf benches on the stem. And finally I glued my tree fairy in her place. I touched up all the golden slurry with resin. Also put hair gel and resin in her hair. I covered all the resin, her body and her hair with golden mica powder. And I forgot yet another thing. I wanted to put some EVA foam underneath the base, right? And as I was moving the tree, oh my word, the tree fell into my arms, luckily, as I was moving it. Luckily only 4 leaves I will have to reattach. Some finishing touches and some cleanup. And now she's done. What do you think of my birth tree fairy? I would love to read your thoughts in the comments. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you're not already done that, it would make me very happy. See you at my next project.